Gamers of Reddit, what's your best moment of total immersion? The first time that I played Amnesia, I followed the suggestion to play in the dark with headphones on. I was at the part where something is in the water below you and you're jumping from box to box. It was 4 years ago, so that's about as specific as I can be, and I started feeling like I was having a full-on panic attack. The room felt like it was shaking, my heart was racing, and I was having a hard time focusing on the monitor. Finally I paused the game because it became too much for me to handle. When I took off the headphones I realized that a train was passing by my apartment. I lived maybe 30 feet from a train track, and my apartment was actually shaking in real life. It took me a while to come back to Amnesia after that experience, but I have never been so terrified by a video game before. I couldn't play this, got too scared, never went back to it. Horror games are on another level these days compared to old classics like Resident Evil. Discovering that first shout in Skyrim. I was in a dark room by myself with headphones maxed out on volume. When the screen started getting wavy and the chanting started, I was just so immersed since I didn't expect it at all. HU who are head. Playing Thief, The Dark Project. Hiding in a corner with a guard nearby when my flatmate comes home and slams a door. I almost hiss at him to keep quiet because the guard will hear. Sound, it's important. I love sound design in games where you're supposed to not make any. Hearing a scream or gunshot in Metroid 2033 makes me jump like nothing else. I was playing GTA 5 and was driving to my next mission. A song came on the radio I never heard before and was good. I got to the destination but the song wasn't over, so I pulled in a parking spot, checked my phone and finished the song in the car before going in for my mission. Mountain Blade, my band of 70 battle-hardened fighters rode to break a siege 300 men strong. Lost a lot of good warriors that day. Freaking love sieges in that game. When I was desperately hiding from the xenomorph in Alien Isolation, praying it wouldn't find my locker I was hiding in. Needless to say, the motion detector got louder and louder. Then I was ripped out and got my head smashed with its mini mouth tongue. RIP, one of the scariest games I've played due to the suspense, and it's incredibly immersive. Plus I love the movies, so that helped me be immersed as well. Me and 4 of my friends were playing some BF1 on Operations. It is the most immersive thing ever to see roughly 40 people all charge off a hill and slowly seeing people getting slaughtered and just hoping to God one of the dozens of explosions of crap does not kill you. Operations are amazing. Working with a squad when I'm in a plane spotting for them, and seeing a team swarm a sector. Such an experience. RDR where I riding out in the middle of desert and the weather changes. Starts pouring rain and lightning flashes. Then my horse up and dies out from under me. My character rolls across the ground. I get up and I'm confused as heck. Then lightning flashes and I see a mountain lion because of the little flash of light. No time to react. Mauled by mountain lion. Coolest way to die, and I had no idea the game had them. Had a GTA V moment not too long ago. I was playing SP just messing around. At one point I was driving down the road and one of the random events happened where cops were chasing some car. So, I decided to follow them and watch. The cops pitted the car they were chasing and they started their police shootout. The 2 cops slayed the 2 suspects. They left their police car to go check out the bodies or something, so I decided to steal the car. I got stars but just hid on the side of a hill to get rid of them. So, then I was messing around and went to pull over an SUV that looked exactly like the one I was driving before. I went up to the window and one of the cops from the shootout was in it. The moment I looked at him I got stars like he recognized me. Yeah, when that game first came out, I can't remember an overall immersion like that. Like, everyone was playing it. That's all we talked about at both of my jobs for a couple weeks, and my whole life was get off work and play till sleep. And I'm sure it was the same for millions of others those first few weeks. BioShock. Waiting and waiting for the opening cutscene to end so you can swim to the lighthouse, and eventually realizing it was over. The first BioShock was incredible in immersing you into its unique environment. The dark, dimly lit hallways combined with the underwater setting made me feel the claustrophobia creep up, and throw in the big daddies and not being able to run made for a chilling experience throughout, not just in story, but gameplay too. Hours after playing the game, with my eyes closed, trying to fall asleep, and those Tetris blocks are still raining from the ceiling. Playing Half-Life 2 late at night, going through Ravenholm and screaming like a little girl every time a head crab jumped at me. We don't go to Ravenholm. Probably at the end of Assassin's Creed 2, when the goddess thing turns to the camera and starts talking directly to you. I missed the fact that she was actually talking to Desmond and thought she had broken the fourth wall and was talking to ME. I freaked out only a little bit. Try playing MGS1 and having Psycho Mantis read your memory card and counter your battle tactics, only for you to plug your controller in the second port and render him useless. Now that was a mindfuck. LOL. My computer blue screened during the Omega Flowy fight in Undertale. For a solid 5 minutes I was convinced it was part of the game. When the game closed before that fight, my computer popped up that this program has encountered an unexpected error message, so I thought it was a legit crash, only to be even more freaked out when I started up the game and it didn't start up quite the same way. When I accidentally drove full speed off a cliff in Far Cry 3, it came out of nowhere. I pressed myself back into my couch, squirming, sheer terror coursing through my body as I held the controller out at arm's length like a steering wheel. It was both the best and worst immersive moment I've had in a video game. I had a similar thing when I went swimming in Far Cry. I didn't know Far Cry 3 had sharks and I was calmly swimming to an island when I got attacked by one. I screamed bloody murder and freaked out only to quickly run back and land. Mine was when I was playing Fallout NV a couple years ago. I was traversing through the Recon headquarters, scavenging for any supplies I might need on the road. Suddenly, I heard thunder that sounded so real I swore that there was a storm outside. I ran up from the depths of my basement, only to find it was a bright and sunny day outside. I was so immersed in the game that I thought that the sound coming from my TV was actually happening. I've never had that happen since. One of the biggest shocks I've ever had in a game was when I was in Jacobstown. When I went to leave the town, the super mutant guard started sprinting at me quick as lightning, and that's when the TV and all power in the house blacked out. I legit had no idea what just happened and was legit freaked out after the power got cut. Impeccable timing makes for some really memorable moments. Super obvious answer, but all gillied up from Call of Duty 4. Laying in the grass while tanks rolled right next to me. I caught myself holding my breath as they were going by. Probably the best mission in any COD game. Absolute classic. Not my best, but the first time I felt truly immersed in a game was landing on Talon IV for the first time in Metroid Prime. The world felt so real. The music, the plant life, the raindrops on my visor when I looked up, it was stellar. Metroid Prime seems awesome. Sadly it crashed my emulator and the Wii version spiked in price, so I've never got to play it. Standing on a high spot in Dishonored 2 and just observing the city. Also reading any notes books. They did a real good job of making a living, breathing world. It's an uncommon thing to compliment, but the buildings in Dishonored were gorgeous. I can't think of any other game where the buildings impressed me. Dating myself here, but Star Wars Galaxies, Jump to Light Speed. I was acting as a flight instructor to a couple of guildmates new to the space combat portion of the game. Basically I was hanging back and letting them get XP, and making sure they didn't get trounced, while giving pointers over our team speak. The new guys blundered into a higher level NPC spawn in their starter ships. I was flying my PvP heavy X-Wing just for giggles. I swooped in and went full offensive, taking out an enemy ship with every shot, while telling them to clear out. 7 kills later, I hear, "Holy crap, mailman, I thought you just RP'd a badass pilot," in my headset. I had to laugh, because, on my server, I wasn't even in the top 20 badass pilots, and NPCs, granted, they did seem like Doom on the hoof to two guys taking out their starters Z95s for the first time. Wound up guiding them back for repairs, while going over droid commands with them. But yeah, that was my video game moment of zen. I still kinda miss the space portion of that game, and I wish one of the emulator projects would get it up and running. SWG takes the cake for me as well. I was about 14 I think when it came out and I started on TAT. I didn't know for years that you could leave the planet, so I became the server's local TAT expert. D. Whenever people needed to know the location of a certain type of spawn for resources or creatures for creature handling, I was your man. Before PvP hit huge in vanilla WoW, South Shore raiding parties were insane. Open field, constant warfare for 30 straight hours. The crossroads is under attack. In Metal Gear Revengeance, when you finally get to fight Jetstream Sam, if you lock onto him and tilt your thumbstick slightly, he'll follow you and you'll both do that super cool sword fight circle each other thing, waiting for someone to make the first move. I love that fight, almost as much as Senator Armstrong. Metal Gear Rising is one of my favorite games because of all these cool moments. It's the best anime I've ever played. Skyrim with about 60 mods installed including weather mods and survival mode. Frostfall. Trying not to freeze to death while slaying dragons. Fun. Recently I was playing with Frostfall and I passed out from the cold at the Gates of Solitude. Luckily Gerald of Rivia was there to save me and take me to the inn. I love modded Skyrim. If you haven't played Mass Effect 3 and plan on playing it, don't read. For me I'll go with Mass Effect 3, Mordin's Sacrifice. The entire build up to the scene, and when the actual scene takes place you can feel the emotions from the characters. Mordin's famous line had to be me. Someone else might have gotten it wrong. Felt like it pulled me right into the game. Now go back and play his loyalty mission in ME2 and try not to cry when he drops that same line. Basically the entire Modern Warfare 2 campaign. Frick, it was so good. Then COD became a running joke. But hey, good times. MW2 provided some great moments. I love the Spec Op missions from it cause I could play those with friends. I wish games still prioritized couch co-op. Civ 5. After lunch from 1:30 PM on a Saturday until 11 PM that night. Showered, had dinner, continued a little after midnight. The clock was showing 7:30 AM by the time I went to sleep. Me and 3 friends were squadded as Russia in War Thunder, a World War II Korean War era dogfighting game. We were in Yaks and La Sevens. As I and a friend landed, we could see an enemy 2 clicks out moving towards us. Just as he swooped in to strafe and kill my friend, one of the others came in and fired a few bursts, setting his engine and fuel tanks on fire as he smashed into the ground beside us. Just after this, the same friend who saved our asses flew right over me and engaged a Spitfire that I hadn't seen. I watched this all from my cockpit view on the airfield. I got so invested in a game of Stellaris where I uplifted humans that spawned next to me. They shared the exact same ethics as me but I didn't want to integrate them into my civ. This led to 100 in-game years of me defending this 3-planet civ on the edge of my borders from everything in the galaxy only to have them go socialist on me and revolt. I was crushed. I know it's very recent, and I have a ton older, but Titanfall 2 Cause and Effect blew me away. Now in many ways it's a very obvious mechanic in a game, but the detail in it was amazing. To it also being a nice little problem Half-Life 2 ESQ plot device. The astounding detail being hearing the confusion of the soldiers' voices as you jumped in and out of time around them. Like, it felt so genuine how you were actually interacting in their time. Then popping out of it, then popping back in, etc. The whole level was just a joy. To the start of the abandoned buildings with the more zombie-like mechas doing jump scares, to the frozen in time ending. Just as a FPS fav gamer, it was just such a joy to play something that just felt so new. Rainbow Six Siege. You never know where the first bullet will come from. You and your other 4 squad members have laid traps and reinforced walls, but that's never enough. Now you wait for the sound of cracking wood, or the winding of a drone. Whatever decides to break the silence, you must take care of it, so your team can do the same with their intrusions. Seriously one of the best, if not the best FPS of the last several decades, if you can get past the servers on free weekends. When you're the last one alive and there's still 3 enemies left, so intense. I once clutched a match going 4v1. It was freaking wild, one of my defining gaming moments. Still have a video of the match saved on my PS4. I don't think any game has matched up to the immersion I felt playing Days mod before the standalone was released. There was something about that game You just had so much to lose every time you died. I remember when I began and every zombie would worry me. Me and my friend would crawl around Electro trying not to aggro zombies because you never knew who was around. That zombie shrieking might bring 5 players down on you, or they may be watching from a hill waiting to see a zombie run after someone to give their position away. It's also the first game that when I heard gunshots my heartbeat increased drastically. I'd come out of 25-minute gunfights with my hands shaking a bit and being noticeably sweaty. My friend told me lots of stories about days. It sounded like a ton of fun. Too bad I didn't have a gaming PC until recently, and now it seems I lost the moment for it. Team Fortress 2 on acid. First I started feeling bad about dominating several new players on a 24/7 fort server, so I started ignoring the ones that didn't seem like threats. Then I started feeling bad about killing the better players too, so I picked heavy and went melee only, but one-shotting people with boxing gloves felt even worse, so I started throwing sandwiches at my enemies without hurting them at all. I suddenly understood hippies and went completely pacifist. Soon I noticed that I had been throwing sandwiches for 2 hours. Most of the enemies were playing along and not hurting me. Some switched to sandwich heavies and joined me, and some players from the opposite team even started yelling at their teammates when they hurt me. I spent a lot of time in the enemy sniper nest and used the voice commands to congratulate the enemy snipers whenever they got a headshot. This isn't the only time I've had fun like this in TF2, but this is the only time I was so immersed that I forgot everything about the world outside my monitor. For those couple of hours I was actually living in CTF2 Fort. I have played against heavies like this. It had never occurred to me they might be on acid. Playing Bioshock Infinite and going to Columbia for the first time. My jaw dropped the first time I descended through the clouds. Still gives me chills every time. The beginning when you are waiting in that chair. Hallelujah, light piano music starts playing. First time playing The Last of Us was when my roommate first got a PS4 and a free trial to PlayStation Plus. I started playing it around 10 PM and next thing I know my roommate was getting up to go to the gym at 6 AM. Those hours just flew by, I was so into the game. Last of Us has a great story and you can really feel the pressure. Such a great game. Hope the second one is as great. In Red Dead Redemption, when you first arrive in Mexico, and there's a beautiful song playing while you ride the countryside. Witcher 3. All of it was immersive as frick really. In particular though, I remember during the Baron storyline feeling more empathy for him than any other fictional character. Also the ending. Any of the ending options hit you hard. I got the worst one on my first playthrough. Holy crap, that was dang near depressing. Then on a replay I got the best one, and that one was just plain beautiful. The character and world development in that game were truly groundbreaking. No other game has fully immersed me like it consistently did. The Baron storyline showed the true brilliance of this game. I tried making good choices and ended up with a horrific result. Just great storytelling. Trying to get past those goddamn archers in Analondo. Each time I would die, I would get angrier and angrier, and curse those metal bucket heads to high heaven. Somewhere on my 8th attempt or so, I realized it wasn't actually me running up those flying buttresses then being blasted to my inevitable doom, but a game. I calmed down, ran up with a renewed sense of self, and was once again knocked off again, which immediately immersed me back into the game. I was no longer a man, and this was no longer a game. I was the chosen undead, and though my future was unclear, and I knew nothing of the horrors that awaited me on the other side of that goddamn archer, my purpose at that exact moment was perfectly clear, and that, my friends, is more than many men can say they will ever experience. Minecraft with shaders. When I go hiking, I sometimes see rivers with islands in the middle, and I always think that's where I'll put my base. GG Minecraft. The Last of Us. Lev David. As it crosscuts with Joel trying to get to her. I've never been drawn into a game the way I was playing through that scene. The nerve-shredding tension of dodging attacking David coupled with Joel advancing through the snow hooked me completely. I usually played that game trying to be stealthy, but I was like an avenging angel when Joel's parts came up, utterly without mercy as I carved through the town, and on the edge of my seat for Ellie's moments. I had to put the game off for a bit at the conclusion. I'll admit I had tears in my eyes. The music, the payoff, It was a bit overwhelming. Probably the best scene in any game I've played, ever. The entire winter section is where the game removes the training wheels for me. Ellie going hunting in the wilderness, riding on horseback to escape, the fight with David, Joel killing the two men for information, trying to see through a little blizzard. TLOU is such a dang good game. Gears of War 3. Dom's death when Marcus shouts Dom no, it felt so real. I thought I was watching my own best friend die, and then the perfect timing of the Mad World intro. It was emotionally exhausting. I actually think Maria's death in 2 was more heart-wrenching. Probably the time I went from a standard box television to an HD TV. Assassin's Creed had just come out and I was blown away by how great it looked. Named my Skyrim character after someone important in my life who died. Played it out like they would. Rest in peace, hopes and dreams. Hope you are doing better, Friendo. I remember a story from Reddit about a guy who played one of his old racing games where you could play against a ghost of yourself to try and get better. Well, apparently his dad had won before he died and his son got to race against his dad but would never beat it. Your story reminded me of that for some reason and I hope everything is better. Easy. Mass Effect 3. I was doing an butthole runoff of a save file that was a perfect paragon starting with ME. I was on the Citadel shortly after convincing Mordin to walk away on Tachanka, thereby not curing the genophage. Just before getting back on the Normandy to head to the next mission, freaking Rex comes out of the airlock to confront me. I was scared out of my freaking mind, and I felt the most guilt regret I have ever felt in my life. After the confrontation, I had to put the controller down and walk away. I just could not deal with it. It took a run and several hours of decompression just to get back to normal. For a freaking video game. Dang. That is quite the emotional turmoil there. I always play Paragon so I don't think I could bring myself to stop Mordin. Clutching around in CSGO. Seriously, if you have heart issues I would advise not playing CSGO competitively. You may have a stroke or something because of how fast your heart will start pounding. Oh god yes. Gold Nova 1. Clutching with friends on much higher ranks against dudes 8-9 ranks higher at me. 1 versus 3 clutch. The sounds my friend made after I pulled it off. My brain merged with the very fabric of the universe for 30 seconds. Should be 18 plus only. Honestly, it was playing the beginner's guide. I really relate to the emotions that Davy conveys, and I got myself lost for the odd hour or so that the game lasted. Something about that experience really reminded me of my friend who committed suicide. The desperation, the confusion. The tone was set perfectly and it spoke to me like no other game has. I still play it every year on the day he died. I guess I use it as a way to get my sad feelings out, because I usually have a hard time crying, even when I'm sad. Surprised to see a beginner's guide reference here. It really is a fantastic game. The last few levels took me on a ride. Stop putting lampposts in my games. Spoiler. I don't know if I ever felt as surprised and betrayed from a game. Kotor Xiaojiao and that freaking blind girl. Oh god. The ending of hers was just too much at the time, when things went to crap in MGQ. I legit cried during that ending. Crap was way too emotional. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.